Good morning. Welcome to the Thursday edition of your breakfast show, Leadership TV, in the Inside Nigeria. My name is Winifred Webo, your host of the program. Today we look at newspaper stories and some trending stories in Nigeria and even beyond. And just before we look at what the papers are saying, we are also going to be looking at a trending video that took place yesterday, 7:15 p.m. in Karu, Abuja. At least 7 persons have been reported dead after a massive explosion rocked the Karo Bridge at Nyanya area of Abuja, the Federal Capital Territory, on Wednesday. It was gathered that the incident occurred after a gas tanker burst into flames and engulfed several vehicles. Personnel from the road safety and other security agencies were seen at the scene with over 7 bodies recovered so far. Reports also indicated that emergency responders continued rescue operations as they worked to contain the situation. It was also reported that some of the injured victims were taken to the State House Clinic because the National Hospital and Asoko General Hospital were no longer accessible. Let's look at the video. Tanker explosion.
All right, so this is Nyanya pedestrian bridge, but apparently there's supposed to be seems like there's a car. You can see it. That's what just happened now. It's an explosion. This is on the Karo Nyanya Maraba road. So it appears that a truck or a trailer is burning and some other cars are affected. That's what's happening right now.
What a terrible accident on the Karo Bridge. God be the glory. God.
Yes. Ian, the head of the Forecasting Response and Mitigation Division at the Federal Emergency Management Agency, FEMA, confirmed the accident's details in a statement released on Wednesday, stating that the incident occurred when the CNG truck veered out of control and struck other vehicles on the bridge. May the souls of the departed rest in peace. Now let's look at the newspaper headlines. Most of the papers we have on our menu today still have the controversy surrounding the emergency declaration in Rivers State, starting with Leadership newspaper. Leadership says federal government defends emergency rule in Rivers State, says Fubara ignores security threats, encourage militants. President decision timely, coming from AGF. We'll work with you, state lawmakers tell Ibas. NAS unsettled, reps in shouting match. PDP governors, NNPP, Amechi, others kickers to the leading story on the lingering crisis confronting the state of emergency declaration in Rivers State 2 days ago. Now, still on Leadership, we also have the picture of the CNG truck explosion that took place yesterday at Karo Beach in Nyanya area. Constituents divided over plots to recall Natasha. Many fear dead in Abuja tanker explosion. This is on page 6 of Leadership. Of course, as at time of this report, 7 are reported dead. Plot to unseat Agbebaku as Edo Speaker vacants. Leadership managing editor loses father. Towards the masthead of Leadership, troops kill 10 terrorists, rescue 101 in Katsina, Zamfara. And on the business boss of Leadership, price hike likely as Dangote resumes sale of petrol in dollars. The price of premium motor spirit PMS also called petrol has been projected to rise if government resumes crude for naira sale arrangements. Consequently, the Independent Petroleum Marketers Association of Nigeria, IPMAN, has threatened to sell petrol in dollars if the Dangote refinery begins selling its products in foreign currency. It seems that the war between NNPCL and Dangote refinery there's no end in sight to that. However, let's continue the review on leadership this Thursday. FCCPC reaffirms commitment to fair market prices. It's a leading story on top the masthead of leadership. FCTA clarifies land title revocations. From this cover, we move to the page 3 of the paper where we have our stand. Today's stand is on renewed hostility in Gaza. Renewed hostility in Gaza. And unfortunately, let's see snippets from that. Unfortunately, Netanyahu's political interest has found a meeting point with Trump's business interest in Gaza, making the crisis currently complicated. The surprise so far is the seeming acquiescence of the Arab countries, which prefer to look on almost absent-mindedly. At the same time, their keys and kin are decimated on the chessboard of international geopolitics. The danger looming on the horizon is the megalomaniac manic tendencies of three world leaders, Trump, Vladimir Putin, and Xi Jinping, an alarming combination that is threatening the existence of Gaza, Ukraine, and Taiwan. Who can stop them? That's a question. Ending today's stand on leadership newspaper, renewed hostility in Gaza. From our stand, we move to the back page where we have Being Blunt with Muazu Elize. Muazu Elize is the group managing director of Leadership newspaper group. Today he's writing on before Pegasan halts oil production. Before Pegasan halts oil production, Pegasan has actually threatened to go on strike for what it called violation of ex parte quota allocation. And in quote, he said the board said that in 2018, SEPCO illegally deployed 402 expatriates and executed unauthorized projects. It's still on Pegasan's threat to protest in what it termed the violation of expatriate quota allocation. Before we leave the back page, we move over to Ghana Must Go. Ghana Must Go news from federal government panel. Nigerians prison still in terrible conditions. And of course, Ghana Must Go as plus the VIP ones is a question the federal government panel has to answer to. It's on this note we conclude review of front headline stories on Leadership newspaper this Thursday, Nigeria's foremost newspaper. From Leadership, we move over to Nigerian Tribune. Let's have Nigerian Tribune on our screen. Nigerian Tribune today, Thursday, says, outrage as emergency rule kicks off in Rivers. Outrage as emergency rule kicks off in Rivers. It has a lot of kickers just beneath that leading story. NBA Southern / Middle Belt leaders, Labour, PDP governors, Amechi, Obi, others fought president. Tinubu swears in Vice Admiral Ibas as sole administrator. It is unconstitutional. National Assembly should not approve president's request, coming from NBA. It is brazen, reckless, and has technically truncated democracy in Rivers. Amechi, former governor of the state, and also 12 times minister of the Federal Republic of Nigeria. No provision in Constitution empowers the federal government to take over the government of any federating state. Southern Middle Belt leaders is an assault on democracy. Labour, reverse your hasty retrogressive decision. PDP governors tell Tinubu. AGF defends Tinubu rejects comparison to Jonathan's action in Borno, Yobe, Adamawa. I'll work with stakeholders to restore law order, coming from the new sole administrator, Ibas. Still on Nigerian Tribune, protesters shot Ondo governor's office over killing of another 5 farmers by suspected herdsmen. Protesters shot Ondo governor's office over killing of another 5 farmers by suspected herdsmen. The story is on page 19 of Nigerian Tribune. 11 bandits, 1 policeman killed in gun duel in Benue. With that, we move to the stories above the masthead of Nigerian Tribune this Thursday. Dangote refinery suspends sale of petrol in Naira just when Nigerians were beginning to heave a sigh of relief over the high cost of transportation arising from high premium sale of premium motor spirits, PMS, otherwise known as petrol. Now this is coming. Dangote refinery suspends sale of petrol in Naira. Tanker explosion shuts down Abuja Kefi Expressway. EFCC arrests Bauchi Accountant General for alleged 70 billion naira fraud. These are stories gracing the cover of Nigerian Tribune this Thursday. For more, don't forget to log into the website of Nigerian Tribune. Even as we move to the next paper we have on our lineup this Thursday, and that is This Day. This Day is still talking about the emergency declaration in Rivers State, and it says despite outrage, federal government says Fubara saved from impeachment as Iba sworn in. Despite outrage, federal government says Fubara saved from impeachment, Iba sworn in. Amechi Falana Obi orders decry action, say Tinubu doesn't have such powers. PDP Governors Party insists order won't stand. NLC-TUC demand immediate reversal of declaration. Situation Room declares is unconstitutional. NNP denies explosion at Port Harcourt refinery. Clickers to the leading story on the emergency declaration in Rivers State yesterday. Despite outrage, federal government says Fubara saved from impeachment, Iba sworn in. Still on This Day newspaper, above that we have presidency. Rivers Governor Fubara teleguided militants to blow up pipelines in the state. These are rising from the briefing AGF had yesterday that Rivers Governor Fubara teleguided militants to blow up pipelines in the state. Consideration for emergency rules suffers setback as National Assembly fails to meet two-third requirement to reconvene today. And consideration for emergency rules suffers setback as National Assembly fails to meet two-third requirement to reconvene today. And above that, court set aside order avoiding Akpoti Uduaghan's suspension. The story is on page 8 of This Day. And above the masthead of This Day, Dangote refinery halts petrol sale in Naira, cites mismatch with dollar-denominated crude purchase. Many die in CNG-laden truck explosion in Abuja. The story is on page 6 of This Day newspaper today, Thursday, March 20, 2025. For continuation of these headline stories today on This Day newspaper, don't forget to log into the website of This Day. From This Day, we move over to the next paper we have on our menu, and that is Vanguard, still on emergency rule in Rivers. Vanguard says emergency rule in Rivers, federal government governors disagree. It's a story that runs on pages 8, 9, and 10 of the paper. Emergency rule in Rivers, federal government governors disagree. And the kickers, Wike has no role in political crisis, AGF in defense of the FCT minister, Nyesom Wike, alleges Fubara teleguided militants to blow up pipelines. Tinubu can't appropriate such powers to himself, Amechi, former governor of the state. No justification for state of emergency, Senator Dixon. Your action unconstitutional, NBA tells Tinubu. Is unwarranted, premeditated attack on Rivers opposition, PDP governors. Ibok Ete Iba sworn in, promises to restore order, law in Rivers. NLC-TUC to Tinubu, reverse emergency rule. Illegality of dissolving elected democratic structure, coming from Falana. That story runs on page 4. Illegality of dissolving elect democratic structure. Falana San. These are kickers to the leading story on Vanguard newspaper today, Thursday, March 20, 2025. The controversy trailing the emergency declaration in Rivers State by President Bola Ahmed Tinubu. Still on Vanguard, we have 2020, we are talking sports, 2026 World Cup race. 3 points against Rwanda, non-negotiable. Super Eagles. 2026 World Cup race, 3 points against Rwanda, non-negotiable. Protest rocks Ondo as armed herdsmen kill 5 farmers. Policemen, 11 militia gang members killed in Benue community. Oborewori Wasima others advocate measures to strengthen local content drive. Another story gracing the cover of Vanguard this Thursday. And above the masthead of Vanguard, crude for Naira D, Dangote suspends sale of petrol in Naira. With that, we also conclude review of front headline stories on Vanguard this Thursday. For more, don't forget to log into the website of Vanguard newspaper. As we move to the next paper we have on our menu, and that is The Guardian. The Guardian, only paper we have on our lineup that has different story altogether. Let's see what The Guardian is saying today, Thursday. It says imminent end. Okay. Sorry, stored Naira for crude D. Imminent end to subsidized petrol as forest PMS face major disruption. It will also be recorded that the NNPCL actually fired the first salvo when he said that the crude for Naira for crude D with private refineries, including Dangote refinery, was up for renegotiation. It was putting a stop to it. Actually, the federal government had to come in and say no, it was not stopped. They are going to renegotiate. And obviously, in response to that, Dangote refinery also issued a statement that it was putting an end for selling petrol is crude, refined crude for Naira. So we have the picture of Meli Kyari, the GMD of NNPCL, with Dangote, Alhaji Aliko Dangote, beneath that headline story. Stored Naira for crude D, imminent end to subsidized, in quote, petrol as forest PMS face major disruption. Many fear dead cars burnt as tanker explosion rocks Abuja. Federal government dismisses WHO report on stock out of essential HIV drugs. Federal government dismisses WHO report on stock out of essential HIV drugs. SDP denies connection party funding by Tinubu. Shettima asks tax lawmakers on food security legislations. Stories gracing the cover of The Guardian. Federal government reads riot out to states as Nigerians rule state of emergency in Rivers. It's a story that is generating controversies since 2 days ago of announcement by President Bola Tinubu. Working Group Summit report seeks urgent help for correctional centers. With that, we move just to the stories beneath the masthead of The Guardian. Natasha constituents reject sham recall processes as Kogi Rec dismisses rumor. Natasha constituents reject sham recall processes as Kogi Rec dismisses rumor. Of course, there were reports that her constituents were actually making recall for her. They have begun the process of recall. However, in Guardian today, they said constituents reject sham recall process as Kogi Rec dismisses rumor. Okpebholo predicts victory for Tinubu in 2027 as 17 local government bosses dump PDP. EFCC arrests Bauchi AG orders over alleged 70 billion naira fraud. The story continues on page 30 of The Guardian. Is on that note we conclude review of front headline stories today on The Guardian newspaper. Don't forget to log into the website of The Guardian for more of the stories, www.guardian.ng. Well, viewers, also on this note, we've come to the end of today's Inside Nigeria. Don't forget to log into our website for more stories. Meanwhile, don't also forget to join us for news on the hour on this station. My name is Winifred Gbebo once again. Thanks for joining us.
Thank you for watching. For sponsorship and advert placements, please contact 080-3688-6158. Last Word Leadership Podcast Studio. You have